Hey guys, sorry about that last one. Hopefully, we are now live. Lots to share on this lovely February 2023 morning. So, going to give you an update as I do on the Panama real estate market, beaches, city, and mountains. What's going on with pricing, both on pre construction and existing properties. Also, going to share with you a bit of information that we have sort of in-house and through a few reports. Actually, one report that developers usually pay a couple grand for. We get it free because we contribute to that report. So yeah, just between us and the internet, some interesting insight there, mostly on the pre-construction report. I should say on the pre-construction market. So let's get started. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. I just did a 10-minute monologue with no sound. So yeah, fingers crossed this time. Would love to hear if you can make a comment and say, yeah, your audio is working. I usually test, but anyway, okay. So next or first topic are the beaches areas. So, we cover obviously the whole Western area up to about Panama in terms of beaches. So that includes Buenaventura, Coronado, Gorgona, Vistamar, all the way back to excuse me, Playa Bonita, which is just outside the city. And one word is action for the beaches. We've seen a huge bump up in terms of closed sales, inquiries, people visiting from all over the world. It's kind of great. We expect this. January, February, March, April, and sometimes all the way up to May is our busy season for the beach. Now, if you are an investor looking to buy at the beach, yeah, you'll cover costs, but it is a very seasonal market in terms of rentals. So, in a perfect scenario, you'll make all your money from January to May in the form of 1 week rentals here and there. But generally, we direct our pure investment clients to the city just because it's a little less seasonal. That said, beaches are very interesting right now. We just see a busier start to the season than we have in a long time. Maybe that's because of a cold, gross winter up in the States, Canada. I don't know. Europe, we're seeing a little bit of the dollar coming down, which is always good for the Panama real estate market just because it gets cheaper. That's one of the things we follow. So, okay, what else are we going to talk about? What else am I going to talk about here in my little monologue is pre-construction, because pre-construction, particularly in the city, is sort of a roadmap to what you can expect in the future. And 4 years ago, that roadmap was looking a little dicey. So back in like 2017, we had 20,000 properties that were either in construction or already completed and unsold. Now that number is 5,000. That's actually really good news if you're thinking about buying in Panama, because obviously it means that in a year or 3 years from now, you're going to have a lot less inventory than what you were looking at 5 years ago. Why is that? Well, prices have increased for builders to build, both on the market for, labor and materials, which are your two main components, but also construction financing. Mortgage rates have gotten a lot more expensive for potential developers. Project finance, I should say, has gotten more expensive for potential developers. That's all really good news, especially if you've already bought or you're thinking about buying, because it means that there's going to be less properties for sale 3 years from now than there are right now. So that's one little piece of info. Now, we do have an MLS here, in case you're wondering. It's okay. It's getting there. It's hasn't been universally accepted by the entire market, and therefore doesn't necessarily represent everything that's going on like a typical MLS outside of Panama would reflect. So that's one thing that makes Panama a little bit different, is the fact that, yeah, we have an MLS, but it's not quite there. That's why you have to rely on other reports, whether it's from the Superintendency of Banks to get a sense of what's going on with mortgage rates, or a few of our sources who report on 100% pre-construction. And pre-construction is definitely a good thermostat for what you can expect to see. Okay, what else? Mortgage rates have started to increase. Boo. Now, again, slightly okay for the market in terms of, our market, because our market is generally cash buyers. Our market, foreign market. It's not that easy to get a mortgage in Panama if you are a foreigner, or particularly if you make your money outside of Panama. Banks, even for Panamanians, view Panamanians living outside of Panama as foreigners if they're working outside of Panama. So that's a little bit of an eccentricity about the Panama real estate market in terms of mortgage and what's going on. Another thing that we're seeing in terms of developers, again, staying on the topic of pre-constructions, is negotiation. Now, as all of our sales people know, everybody that works for Panama, if you don't ask, the answer is always no, right? So you got to always push. We always push for our buyer clients, and we push back for our seller clients. So here's the thing: developers are negotiating a lot less right now. So we're talking about guys that are building in Panama City, Panama right now are less apt to negotiate on their price. Why? Well, one would think because they're a lot more confident about what's going on in the market, such that if you don't want to buy, they'll just wait for the next person who might come by later today. So what does that mean? You can still negotiate, guys. Here's where we're seeing the most negotiation. Things like appliance and AC packages, you can definitely push back on those. Things like concessions on parking spaces, get a better parking space, i.e. lower to the ground. Maybe you get an additional parking space. Maybe you get storage space. But here's what that's generally contingent on: putting a little bit more money down. Typically, you're going to be asked to put down around 30%, sometimes 40, but not really. Generally, 30% is a good hard rule of thumb in terms of what you're going to have to put down for new project, new development. Now, another little secret about Panama, kind of weird, and I think I figured out why, but here's the thing. A condo that is 1 year old is right next to a condo project that's going to be done in 2 years. You would think that condo project is going to be sold at a discount, right? Not necessarily the case. Sometimes developers say, oh, well, we're going to be delivering a brand new and shiny unit. Therefore, we're going to charge more based on even what the neighbor's selling for today's market. So it's a little bit funny like that. I think that it's because Panama has historically had a pretty robust market for pre-construction buyers. It's easier to purchase when you're overseas, when you're buying pre-construction. A lot of our buyers come from overseas. Therefore, there is a good market such that developers don't have to reduce their prices too much on pre-construction versus the rest of the market. But this time last year, developers were giving more discounts on pre-construction. Man, I hope my volume's working, guys. If you can see this, give me a little chat to know where you're coming from. Usually we get quite a few people on here, and I'm seeing maybe it's just the chat's a little boring today. Hopefully my microphone didn't stop working again like it did on the last one. If not, we'll just do another one on Monday. Okay, so hot projects right now: Alexa and Casco View. Love those projects, not because I'm making more commission. In fact, they pay a little less commission, but that's okay. We like the area. We like the builder. We like the price point. 120 to about 200,000 is a very interesting price point right now when it comes to pre-construction and your ability to rent it out in the future. That's going to rent out for, say, 800 to 1100, depending on, what you do to it, if you want to furnish it, etc. So rentals, we can talk about rentals a little bit. Rentals are kind of slow and steady. Like, they started to come up in December. They've since come down a little bit. So let's see what's going to happen with those. I say come down. Prices haven't come down yet. Volume, rental inquiries have come down a little bit. And I think that's due to corporate relocation. We're not seeing as much corporate relocation as we have in this first quarter yet. Remains to be seen, although retirees are definitely coming down. And then last item is Carnival. Carnival's coming up in about 2 weeks. So here in Panama, Carnival generally starts closing things down around midday Thursday. So that's going to be, I think, like the 15th. Valentine's Day, I think, is the 14th. It's always the 14th. Wednesday. So that Thursday, if you got a deal going on, if you're thinking about coming to Panama, get it done before Carnival or after Carnival, because during Carnival, ain't nothing going to happen. Banks are kind of open. Most lawyers traveling. Forget about showing property. Well, we might show some property, but in general, most other agencies are not going to be working during Carnival. So that's that. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully my mic is on. Thank you all and have a great day.